All right, everybody, welcome back. Another episode of Everybody Needs a Nudge. I got a special guest, a guy whose life has been intertwined with mine since he was about 14 and I was about 16. You guys probably all know him from his amazing podcast, Rink Shrinks. Mike Mottau joining us today. How you doing, Mike?
Doing great.
How was your? You coming down from vacation, huh?
Yeah, we're up by Canada, pretty much.
5 hours or something crazy.
5 hours, and came down, made some good time, and then there was some traffic through Boston, which was like I've never seen anything like it. So yeah, but I'm here, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Good. So we'll do a little kind of a week in recap, as I like to do. But you know what I watched a bunch of was the Little League World Series. I know you were a baseball player growing up.
Yeah, that's one of the best times of year to watch the Little League World Series.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
It's sport in its purest form, and you have these really talented young players, but some of those pitchers just throw gas, little BBs.
Can't even catch up with it.
Oh.
You were a baseball player.
I was up until ninth grade, and my dad said that he was a little disappointed that I wasn't playing it there instead of picking up lacrosse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I played Legion for Brockton.
So we'll get to that. But so wait, went to Thayer and you played lacrosse instead of baseball?
Yeah, there were more hockey guys that played lacrosse. So it was like that spring season's meeting, and they were just pulling me that way. They're like, you can pick it up. So yeah, I ended up picking it up.
Well, it's not like hockey because anybody can run, right? Like I make fun of it. It's easy. You don't have to skate.
Well, I loved it when the ball was on the ground. You could hit anyone within 5 yards. So I'm like, oh,
I'm hitting everybody. So we're jumping ahead, but when I got to Thayer, I played baseball my 8th grade year, and then I had to choose between golf and baseball. Yeah. And it was kind of an easy choice for me because I couldn't really throw the ball from one side of the diamond to the other. So it was kind of like,
right,
I got time to move on. The big diamond's it's a differentiator.
Yeah, and they have the 50, 70 fields now that are nice, like in between the Little League and Babe Ruth or the Major League field. So I wish they had that growing up because it was a big jump when you got to the big field. It
was, and Hank's on that 50, 70, but the Little League's on the little field.
Right, 40, 60.
And they're older than, so Hank's 11, my guy's 11, same as your daughter, and they're older and playing on the smaller field.
Yeah, I think they can be 12.
It's like watching Randy Johnson pitch. Remember when Randy Johnson pitched? It looked like his arm was like he was like just placing it in the catcher's mitt.
He's halfway to the plate.
Remember when he hit that bird?
He had to go to court for that.
He did?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, for some reason, So
not surprising. So sadly, I had to attend a couple of funerals, that's the age we're getting to. Got a lot of parents dying, but my question is always they all had good lives, lived good lives, but why is it a wake at a funeral home? Why is it a wake at a funeral home? Do you ever think about that? Yeah. You go to a wake at a funeral home,
right?
Why wouldn't you go to a wake home?
That's a good question. I mean, they're just killing two birds with one stone.
I don't think that's an appropriate. I think that you want to leave the killing part out of the funeral home conversation. But anyway, that was my thought. And another guy from my past that you might know, actually, because he coached. So do you remember a guy by the name of Frank Federico?
Yes.
Okay. So Frank Federico was my favorite coach. Hard-nosed guy. And I do a ton of coaching. You do a ton of coaching, and sort of one of our passions now that we share. And this guy was like, he was like my favorite coach ever. He was the first guy in hockey that kind of gave me any confidence, right? And so his son, Chris Federico, do you know Chris?
I don't know him well, but I know of him.
He's a couple years older than you. He's my age. So we've stayed in touch, came back in touch because of youth hockey and stuff. His daughter's about the same age as my daughter. But I was talking about the movie The Bronx Tale last week. And Chris was listening to the podcast, and I was like, Bronx Tale is my favorite movie. I think we've mentioned it like 3 out of the last 4 podcasts. Chris texted me. He's like, did you know that The Bronx Tale was my father's favorite movie? Oh, nice. Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So
the test.
Huh?
The test.
Yeah, the test. Yeah. Is he going to reach over and open the door? Right. I mean, there's so many good scenes in that movie. We always talk about the one where he owes the guy $20. It's like, for $20, he's out of your life.
Right.
What are you doing? Leave him alone. Get out of here. So this podcast came about because Mike and I played golf on Friday.
Yep.
Had my son Hank out there caddying. He did all right.
Did a great job.
He did.
He hustled. He got the flags out there, all official. And
yeah, he was pretty solid.
He was solid.
So the best part of the night for me was we played 18 holes, and of course you got to play some extra holes. So I called my wife. I said, you got to come pick up Hank. We're playing extra holes. And I'm like, hey, Hank, you're going to go. Your mother's going to pick you up. He's like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm staying here with the boys.
Hops on the back. Just rips off for the extra holes.
Crushing life, 11 years old. Up at the bar, hanging out. Yeah, he had a blast. He had a blast. And lastly, before we get into Mike, because we want to get there, but did you go to Woodstock 99? Did you go to Woodstock 99?
No.
How old? When did you graduate? Root beer. When did you graduate high school?
I would have been 12.
Okay, so you didn't go?
No.
Did you go to Root Beer? Did you go to Root Beer? Did you go to Woodstock 99?
No, that was when they tried to recreate, the original Woodstock.
Yeah.
Didn't they burn everything?
They burnt it down. So I watched an incredible documentary on it last night called I forget the name of it. I watched it. There was 3 episodes. I watched them until 1:00 in the morning. Derailed or off the tracks or something like that. And it was the story of that whole weekend and the craziness that was going on. 300,000 people, and they had Limp Bizkit. The lineup was all these borderline heavy metal bands from that generation. They weren't heavy. They were heavy metal rap, right? Like Limp Bizkit, Korn, Red Hot Chili Peppers,
Green Day.
Yeah, Green Day. All these, and they were everybody big mosh pits. And then at the end of this thing, the guy who I forget the guy's name. I think his name was Lang. Michael Lang was the guy who did the original Woodstock in 1969, and he was the guy behind it in 99. And they decided at the end, so Red Hot Chili Peppers was playing last, and they gave out candles as it was like a candlelight vigil because the cause was gun violence. Right. Columbine had just happened. So it was they were trying to bring awareness to gun violence. Remember, every time there was a shooting, there people, they always go with they do the candlelight vigils. They gave out 200,000 candles.
Bad idea, jeans.
Yeah. Bad idea, jeans. Big time. 200, and everybody's. Oh, and then they did that. And I'll get back to that. Then they decided that every night they were going to have a rave. So people would go to the concert all day, and then they would rave all night long, doing whatever they were doing. I mean, I've never been to anything such like that in my whole entire life. Of course not. Me. Never. But I'm like, shut it down, right?
Right.
And they literally lit the place on fire, and people died. I don't think anybody died, but it was a bad scene. It was a bad scene. So you weren't there.
No, it was an old Air Force base.
It was an old Air Force base. Yeah. So that was the other issue. It was 100 degrees, and it was all tarmac. So people and they had no waters. They took all the water. If you were trying to bring a backpack of water in, they took it away from you so they could sell you water at $4 a bottle. Yeah. It was unbelievable. It was So I forget. I'll get to the name of the show. It'll be in the corrections for next.
I think it is Derailed.
Is it Derailed? It might be something like that. Have you seen it?
I haven't, but Tom McKinnon told me about it.
It's worth watching.
Yeah, when we're doing the Rink Shrink street hockey tournament, he's like, you should just burn this place down like Woodstock 99.
It was unbelievable. They gave them candles. Can you imagine? So, but they were saying, they're showing no one had clothes on. They're all crowd surfing. Poor women are getting molested all the way through. It was craziness. It's crazy. And then one of the girls that was there, that was the main interviewer, was 14 when she was there. So they showed a picture of her. She's 14. She looks like Rose. You've got a daughter, Brett, about 14, right?
14, yeah.
Yeah. Braces.
15, yeah.
I'm like, the parents let them go to upstate Woodstock? New York to go to Woodstock, 300,000 people. Crazy. So that's the podcast of that's the podcast recommendation for television. I watched all 3 episodes last night. And lastly, my one correction, pretty clean show last week. One correction, Dennis Pateris. You know Dennis?
Pateris.
Quincy kid.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
yes.
He's in the I couldn't remember what Hall of Fame he's in. He's in the North Quincy Red Raider Hockey Hall of Fame.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
That sounds made up.
No, it's not. It's a legit. It's at Quincy Youth Arena.
Yeah.
You know where it is?
I know exactly where it is.
You're actually to sort of a good segue. You were a lot of times when you see your profile online, it says you were born in Quincy.
I was born in Quincy Hospital, so my first application or questionnaire for pro was birthplace. And, I was born in Quincy. So I wrote Quincy down. All my, Avon buddies are like, are you serious?
So but your family was living in Avon.
Yeah.
But you were born in Quincy, so you wrote Quincy.
Yeah.
See, I write Weymouth. My family lived in Hanover, but I was born in Weymouth. I was born at the Social Hospital.
Yeah, so Dougie Nolan, our Quincy buddy there, was fired up that, I was born in Quincy. He's like, you can play for our over 30 men's league team.
Sorry, I already laid claim to that one. So born in at Quincy Hospital, but grew up in Avon.
Right.
With who? Who was that? Who was in the house in Avon?
So we got my mom and dad, Robert and Mabel, and then my oldest sister, Charlene, my brother, Rob, and my sister, Kim, whose birthday is today.
Really? Happy birthday, Kim.
Yeah.
Special. Everybody Needs a Nudge podcast birthday shout out to Kim. She has to watch, has to listen.
Yeah,
now.
I will.
You have to tell her.
Let her know.
So four sips. So this is I digress now, but this is what I like about the podcast because I've known Mike. How long have I'm 46. I've known you since I was 16.
Yeah.
Right? We'd not get this deep into stuff. This is gonna be incredible. I'm so excited right now. Can you you can feel it? So how many? Three siblings.
3 siblings.
4 total.
Yeah, I'm the youngest.
You are.
Yeah.
Is your brother oldest?
It goes boy, girl, boy, mozzarella sticks.
That's incredible. So 3 boys and a girl.
No, 2 boys, 2 girls.
And boy,
Charlene,
girl,
Rob,
girl,
Kim, Mike.
boy.
Yeah.
So that's what I have. And I'm the youngest.
Yeah.
My older brother, Robbie, 2 sisters in between, and then me.
It goes girl, boy, girl, boy.
Oh, my God. This is going to be all over corrections to next week.
Love it, though.
Okay, so it's not the same. I thought we were going to really connect there on a deep level.
Right.
We're not, though.
Oh,
No.
close.
Close.
Yeah.
So you're the youngest.
Yeah.
And obviously athletics was a huge part of your life, and sort of, I'm sure once we get into all the nudges, there's a million nudges on the athletic side, but hockey, baseball, football. Did you play football?
I played football my senior year at there. That's it.
So that's a weird path.
I know.
You didn't play football.
My mom wouldn't let me.
But then, okay, so let's just break that down a little bit, okay? Because at that point, you're committed to Boston College to play hockey.
I wasn't committed to anywhere yet.
You weren't.
No.
So you were like, screw it. I'm going to roll the dice
I didn't want to do gym.
Yeah, because gym back then was gym.
Yeah.
It wasn't like weightlifting like it is now.
No, that would have been way better.
Yeah. They do strength and fitness now or something they call it, right?
It's good, though.
Yeah.
Instead of playing tug of war.
Or badminton or something. Sick game of badminton against some poor girl that can't even get out of her own way.
Me.
Yeah, against Root Beer coming over the top, like spiking it, dancing on her grave. Right? I could totally see it. Yeah, see, well, I'm going to play football. That's okay. All right. So, but baseball and
lacrosse and hockey.
In high school, but no lacrosse growing up. There was no lacrosse in Avon, right?
No.
Because there was no lacrosse in Hanover.
No.
Yeah.
I picked it up in 9th grade.
Was your father a hockey player?
No. He stopped playing in the father-son game when we could start lifting the puck.
That was it for him.
Yeah.
He was done.
His skates are amazing.
Was he out there in jeans during the game?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
We went skiing once as a group family, bus thing, and he wore blue jeans. And he's going down the bunny hill fall. He's like, no, it's fine if you just wipe it off fast.
Yeah.
His pants were frozen.
Yeah, frozen solid. Incredible.
Does he call them dungarees?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I had a cousin who I used to go skiing with, and he used to wear jeans. He never zipped his jacket, and he would always smoke cigarettes in the line. I'd be like bundled up head to toe, couldn't see an inch of skin. And he's pretty much rolling around in the snow smoking cigarettes. Like, you're crazy. Cold doesn't affect some people.
No.
Yeah, I get cold fast. I wear thermal underwear all the time.
Like those kids at the bus stop who wear shorts
Yeah.
in the middle of winter.
Well, you weren't like that.
No.
Yeah. So your brother was a hockey player.
Yeah. So my sisters played some sports, but they were mostly dance. So my brother and I would have to go and, do the curtain or the spotlight at the recitals.
Of course you did. You had a job.
Painful. But, it was good. But my brother, is 5 years older. We shared a room growing up. And, he's my biggest idol, looking up to an older brother. But he's a very good hockey player at every age, but he worked at it, and he showed me the path that you needed to go down to be successful.
So he was the nudge that got you into the game first. What was it? So how did he get into it then? We should have him on the podcast.
I know.
Think. Might be a better guest.
There was a kid named Jackie Maycumber that taught me how to skate, but he was around my brother's age. But around Avon, there was a lot of people, getting on the ice and playing hockey. And we had some family friends from Canada, and my mom's Canadian.
Oh, she is?
She's from Cape Breton, Nova Scotia.
Yeah, I think you told me that the other day. She's from Nova Scotia.
Yeah, so she says, the reason why we can play hockey is because we're half Canadian.
Yeah.
It's in the blood. But she can't.
Taking all the credit. I love it.
She can't swim or ride a bike, so she's like the most unathletic person out there, but she still says it.
What a combination. I can't swim or ride a bike. So if you want to ride the bike down to the beach, I'm out.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing either of those things.
Zero chance.
So, and he became a pretty accomplished hockey player.
Yeah, he went to Archbishop Williams in Braintree, earned a Division I scholarship on his own, pretty much, just through his abilities. No one was advocating for him per se, or it was just a different landscape. But some of the local colleges wanted him to go to a year PG, and my dad, just didn't really understand, that type of
the landscape.
Yeah, that path.
Yeah.
He had a full scholarship to Illinois Chicago, UIC, and they would play, Michigan State. They're in the CCHA, the old CCHA, and so he went out there as he was 17.
Yeah.
As a freshman in college.
And that's, in the from around here, if you're around here and you're a hockey player, going out there is a little bit of an anomaly, right? Not a lot of kids were going out there back then. I don't know if maybe more on now because there's such a broader net cast on these kids that are playing everywhere. But, we have two friends that went to University of Miami, Ohio, and that was kind of a little bit weird, right?
Yeah.
Different.
I mean, he had opportunities to stick around, do that PG, like I said, but, it's tough to pass up a full scholarship when you don't know, when it's unknown what you're going to get after. And, going out west or Midwest was a little bit of a leap of faith, and, it was tough, to see him go because we were so close for, since I was born pretty much.
Yeah. So this is like, I remember you said something to me a while back that stuck, and sort of as I coach kids, like when you got to Thayer, and we'll get into sort of why you chose Thayer, because I think that's a pretty funny story with your dad walking through some of the campuses that you got to go see. I mean, and I don't like to blow your horn, and I'll just remind you that I'm better than you at golf, as my way of keeping you grounded, because I was his captain in high school. So, but you were you could have had your choice of high schools going into the 9th grade, right? Essentially, you could have gone to CM, you could have gone to Sevy's, you could have gone to Thayer, you really could have gone pretty much anywhere. You were pretty highly sought after 14-year-old hockey player.
Yeah, well, again, I wanted to follow my brother's footsteps and go to Archie's. That was all I wanted to do. He was a senior when I was in 7th grade, so I went and spent the day with him. He's like, yeah, he's in 8th grade. And we just hung around and, went to his classes and stuff. And my sister, Kim, was going there as well, and a bunch of my buddies. But Coach Foley was the one through USA Hockey, the Mass Hockey, the satellite program, that was like, hey, why don't you take a look at Thayer?
Yep.
Then you had to take another test, and I tested pretty well, and so it opened up, the door to a lot of other schools, other prep schools in the area, and it was just kind of, again, my parents just allowed me to make the decisions and kind of.
Well, they nudged you in the right way. So for those that don't know, what he's talking about with the Mass satellite hockey stuff is sort of they filter the top players up to the Massachusetts hockey camps, and at the time Jack Foley was kind of at the forefront of all that stuff, and he was kind of a pioneer a little bit in his practice planning and stuff, all the stuff that you see now with the ADM and station-based practices and stuff. He was doing that back when nobody else was doing it, which was that's where we ended up playing high school hockey. But I'm going to let Mike tell the story, but the one thing that stuck with me was I remember you saying to me that you were doing sit-ups, push-ups, and maybe pull-ups or something in junior high to get ready for your high school career. I mean, is that correct?
Yeah, so I would, my brother and I would put on the Use Your Illusion CD.
Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, and
2-disc set.
We'd do push-ups, it'd be wide, regular and diamond to failure. But like we would do multiple sets, and he was much stronger than I was, and I would continue to try to, follow in his footsteps, again.
And catch him. If he did 15, you want to do 15.
Yeah.
If he did 20, you want to do 20. But so it's just again, friendly reminder, I'm better than you at golf. When you came to Thayer, you were immediately, in my opinion, and I'm going to let you get to the story and how you ended up at Thayer eventually, you were sort of one of the top players the second you walked in the door. And that wasn't just because you were more talented than others. You were working. Looking back, like, I didn't know back then fitness wasn't what it is now, right? Kids weren't getting into lifting weights. I mean, now kids are fifth grade, sixth grade, seventh grade. They're in the gym, right? It's sort of normal at this point. But it wasn't like that back then, and it was a much different time. But tell the story about how you chose. I think, and I don't want to butcher it, but I think it was between Seby's and Thayer or something, right?
Yeah. So we were touring St. Sebastian. We went to Milton, St. Sebastian,
Milton Academy,
yep, and Thayer. And Thayer was the last visit, and I felt very comfortable at St. Sebastian's all-boys school. The headmaster, Bill Burke, was a super guy who was new on the job and just made you feel really comfortable. I knew some buddies there, and then, I was telling my dad that. I'm like, hey, I feel pretty comfortable here. This is, kind of something that, I might have to look at. And then we toured Thayer, and we were getting toured by a girl named Alex Doyle.
Duxbury girl.
Yeah. And,
Boston College.
And, she was walking up the main stairs, main building stairs. And, my dad's not a Yahoo by any means, but he just gave me a little nudge. He's like, you're not going to get that at St. Sebastian. And fast forward, that was the best advice.
A little nudge. How apropos of the podcast, his dad gave him a little nudge. It was like, that's exactly. Incredible. That's so good.
So, fast forward, I got a great education, great coaching, and, met so many great friends, but I also met my wife there. And so that advice, still rings true today.
It's amazing, right? That little nudge changes your whole path.
Right.
I mean, it really does.
I would like to rewind a little bit to.
Again with these guests, they don't understand who the host is. Okay, go ahead, rewind.
Only because you were talking about me going into Thayer, but a huge influence on my development before I got to Thayer was a guy named Vinny Magno. He was a coach at Roxbury Latin, so I had him 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
But you weren't at Roxbury Latin.
No, this was with the Socio Kings, and then I went to the Boston Junior Terriers.
Okay.
And
did he was at both, or
yeah, we went.
You went with him. You followed him.
Correct.
Got it.
So Ken Hodge Sr. was the head coach, but Vin Magno was the D coach, and that was the first time I ever was able to be like, oh, there's something else out there, meaning to the game where, there's some structure and you can use your players, and there was more of a system.
Yeah.
Forechecking system, regrouping, a game plan on retrieving pucks. And
all right, so I've had this conversation a lot lately with Mark Gammons, a good friend of yours, good friend of mine. He's been on the podcast, friend of the show. We'll call him a friend of the show, right? Friend of the show. By the way, this particular episode of Everybody Needs a Nudge is brought to you by the Rink Shrinks. Show me your hat, Mike. Rink Shrinks for all your rink shrinking. No, I'm just kidding. It's a great podcast, not a competitor. Different topics, but Mike's one of the hosts, and they're sponsoring this. They don't know it yet, but they're sponsoring this.
I'll bring the checkbook.
Yeah. So what we were talking about and is when do you start introducing? I don't want this to turn into a coaching show, but real quickly, when do you start introducing systems and stuff like that at the youth hockey level? And my position is a little bit at U12, but then U14. So on the girls' side, Pee Wee going into Bantam is everything else should be pretty skill based, even your practices. That's my take.
Yeah, I think that's an appropriate time. We didn't do a ton, say in 6th grade. I know the age difference, or it kind of moved.
Yeah, that's Hank. Hank's 6th grade right now. I don't do a ton with him.
No, so it would be the next year.
Yeah.
But just having an idea, you don't have to like play a system, but you have to still understand some of the concepts that surround the systems. And being on the same page, like I said, for retrievals, so partner work, that's not a system. It's a game plan when there's a retrieval necessary. So,
All right. Whoa. We're about to go. We're about to go crazy here.
I know, but what I'm saying,
can't stop. He won't stop. He'll talk about retrievals. We'll be
oh.
Did you get that puck yet? Jesus, retrieve the goddamn thing. For crying out loud. Oh my God, I'm losing I can actually see my sister Doris turning off the podcast. I'm sorry, Doris. We're going to get back to his life. So I'm going to ask you a question. I'm going to bring you back. I'm going to ask you a question. Outside of hockey, give me, and outside of your parents, give me somebody that influenced you early on before you give me someone that gave you a nudge, and what's the story behind a nudge there?
So can I talk about Vin Magno?
Yeah.
All right.
But he's a hockey guy, but that's fine.
Well, I mean, we had these long car rides, and his son sat in the back seat.
Weird.
We would just talk.
But that's weird.
No, I mean, because I was a sponge, and he was like such a resource to me for hockey and just like being, prepared and that off-ice stuff that we talked about earlier. Like he gave me a bunch of stuff that, just a kind of a game plan to work out too.
Off the ice.
Correct.
Yeah.
So he would be one of the biggest influences in my, hockey career and, moving forward because he can apply it to anything.
Yeah. And do you stay in touch with him?
Yeah. So I wrote him a letter after my.
Did you need help writing that letter?
I did. And then I reached out and we had a lunch, and next thing you know, it was like 6 hours later.
Really?
Yeah. But he's a sweetheart of a guy, and I mentioned him on our podcast, and he reached out and was very appreciative of me mentioning it. But like, it's so true.
Yeah. So it's just there's nothing more as a coach, and now you have a role as a coach, and I do a ton of coaching. There's nothing better than having someone reach out and be like, hey, thank you. You influenced me in this way. And so that's one of the sort of things that we're trying to talk about a little bit on this podcast is, okay, you had all these nudges in your life. How are you nudging people? And is it negatively or is it positively? Like, what are you doing out there in the world? Where are your nudges going? So it's always good to I'm sure that guy was like, Vin? I'm sure Vin was like, this is awesome, right? And obviously you're had a pretty accomplished career, right? So it's even probably more heady for him to get that. So now you get to Thayer as a freshman, and I'm a junior at the time. We had some good players, some legit D1 hockey players, whether it was Dean Campanelli or Thornton, a bunch of guys that went on and either played at the next level. So tell me, so high school. I mean, what'd you do? How was it? Did you have fun? It's a good time?
Yeah, it was amazing getting on campus immediately and just kind of figuring stuff out. All of a sudden, it was cool to be smart, so you put your efforts into studying and smaller classrooms and,
So that's a great, it's a big differentiator that you see from one town to another town or another school to another school. It's cool to be smart, right? And I say to my kids all the time, it's not cool to be a fool. Right, don't act like a fool. And think
T.
Yeah, it ain't. I pity the fool. I pity the fool. Don't listen to this podcast. How was that? Was that good? I pity the fool. I feel like this. I feel like do you have can you sound effect that and make it deeper?
I could.
Yeah. We'll test your producer skills. So you meet your wife. She's in the same grade.
Well, so that story is great because we did that orientation down at Camp Bourndale.
Yeah.
So you go down there, there's team building exercises, and you spend a couple nights, with your grade. And, as a freshman, you go in. I'm meeting everyone new. I knew a few people like Jed Sheehan and Mike Phelan.
Yeah, from hockey, guys you knew from being around the rinks.
Right. And then Courtney happened to be in my team building group. And
Courtney's his wife.
At the end of the 3 days, you had to write a letter to yourself that got mailed back to you after graduation. And it was all about Courtney.
Oh, I know. Root beer might cry. She's such a romantic. She just moved in with her boyfriend.
I did.
Yeah.
Write me a letter, John.
Yeah, John. Write a letter, John, if you really want to, lock it up. How you doing with the nail biting, by the way?
Better.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Look, she's got both.
on their armpits.
So I didn't know that story. So that's pretty cool. So you wrote a letter to yourself, and it ended up being about his wife.
That is the sweetest story.
And we didn't end up dating till senior year, but
Really?
yeah. So she ended up reading it, and I wanted to read it at our wedding, but my mom like cleaned out my whole room and threw everything away. But at least Courtney was able to read
That's
it. It wasn't
incredible.
a made up, story.
Yeah, because that does sound like I wrote a letter about you, but my mom threw it away.
Yeah.
You're so beautiful, though. Right? That's an incredible move. That's such a move, right? I wrote a letter.
Yeah.
My mom threw it away. So that's good that she got to read it at
Yeah,
least.
she did. And, if I paraphrased or said something like during thanking people, it wouldn't have held the weight. But if I had the actual letter, it would have been cool.
That would have been pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been,
So-
that's a keepsake.
Yeah. So, Mabel, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Mabes.
It just cleaned everything out.
Yeah. That's the Canadian in her. Just get it out of there.
Yeah.
Move on.
Right.
Move on. So you play. You're at there, and then eventually you got to start making some decisions about college. So what was the nudges that sort of guided you in that decision making process? Because I'm sure you were highly sought after. I referenced the story. You gave me a nudge, actually. You gave me a lot of nudges, but he was one of the guys. Remember the story I told about when I decided to focus on hockey versus golf? He was one of the guys. You probably didn't listen to the podcast. Obviously, I could tell because you'd be chiming in on the story. But
Talking over him.
yeah, it was either my junior year or I think it must have been my senior year. Because we had a bunch of good players coming up after me. Like my class had a little bit of a dearth of. I mean, I was a Division I athlete, but on the hockey side, we had a little dearth in my particular class. Above we had a bunch, and below we had Scotty Perry, Wilkie, Tommy Welby went on and played. The Tormey kid went on and played, right? But I remember coming in, as clear as day. I remember coming into the locker room, and he's at practice and looking around the room and be like, he's going to play D1. He's going to play D1. He's 6'2". He's going to play D1. He's going to play D1. I was like, I think I'm going to go play golf. And you were one of the guys that I was like, okay, that's what it looks like to sort of get to the next level. But what I didn't realize was, and I said this before, all the work that you guys were putting in, whether it was working with other coaches or working in the off season, I mean, it was like hockey 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at that point.
Well,
except for the baseball lacrosse season, right? You took that off and then jumped back into it.
There was one story after. So freshman year, you make varsity. Like it was a big deal back then.
Yeah, there was a handful of you. You, Jed.
It was me and Jed that first year.
Just the two of you?
And then Casey transferred in.
Oh, that's right, KC.
But
he was on that list of people that pushed me to go play golf.
Yeah,
because he's like 6'3", monsters, hands like fit over my whole head, right?
So I played baseball in the summer, and I was working for my father, and so my attendance wasn't very good for that satellite program.
Yeah,
and there was a cool week-long camp down at Mass Maritime, so it was like sleepovers and
not a hockey camp.
It was.
Oh, it was a hockey camp.
Yeah, I was kind of through that program.
Okay,
but because my attendance, my dad was like, I'm not driving to Burlington after 10 hours of work.
Yeah,
like you're good.
What was the work?
Small residential construction business.
So banging nails.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you were working.
I was working.
Yeah, you weren't scooping ice cream.
No.
Yeah.
And then on the weekends playing baseball, there was certain times where I couldn't make it. So I got kicked out of the program. And so that guy that we talked about, Jack Foley, who was a big influence, wasn't really happy.
No, I can't imagine.
So I get to campus sophomore year, and he's a lunch proctor, and he's like, with his finger, come over here.
And he was a big guy.
Yeah, intimidating.
I mean, he was a big guy with like a big square head, right? I mean, it was like when he was mad at you, he was mad.
So he was just like, I don't know what you think, who you think you are. You have a big head. You better watch out. I'll just come down your street, and I'm like, So, in the summer, I worked
I'll just
out.
come down your street, whatever that means. I'm just gonna come down your street, right? And you knew
I'm like,
if I see this guy on my street, I'm in trouble.
But I was working out. My brother was working out. He was in college, so we would do workouts in the back garage. I had a little program, and so come tryout time, I had good, stamina. My leg strength was good, and I buried a couple guys early. And he pulls me aside. He's like, "So you did do something this summer?"
He's like, yeah, I did.
I did.
You see the little guy over there? He didn't. He was playing golf. That one? Yeah. He played golf the whole time.
Yeah, so working out and doing stuff on your own, but then there was a little bit more structure to it. To your point, it wasn't 24/7, but it was the priority.
Yeah, it was the priority. And at what point the colleges start come sniffing around? Is it sophomore year? Is it junior year? Is it senior year?
I was getting some letters from different schools, and I think they could reach out. They moved it back to what it was.
What it used to. Now it's like after your sophomore year, I think.
Yeah, beginning of junior year, something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, that the letters were nice. It was like some you're getting paid attention to on some level, and BU was one of the first schools that really showed a lot of interest.
Yeah.
And they were very good at the time, or they were trending, and they had a lot of good players, and they had that city mentality, and so I just was pretty focused on, I would watch a bunch of different games, but I was focused on wanting to go to BU.
BU was the spot.
Yeah.
Really? And you end up at BC.
Well,
so she probably doesn't. They're rivals.
Oh.
Yeah.
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 See, yeah, big time. Boston University, Boston College, Hockey East. They're both on ComAv. Battle of ComAv. Like it's a whole
thing.
It's a whole thing. Like BU guys hate BC guy. I mean, they don't really hate them.
Oh, they do. I mean,
they do when you're playing, but like you kind of hate them after too.
After like 4 years, you can come back together to be friends.
Yeah,
like real friends.
Later on in life,
Yeah.
at like 30, right after the slash marks have worn off and the scars are all gone. Or maybe you need to do business with them, right? I need something from you, so we're buddies, right?
Yeah.
Well, how do you end up at BC then? What's the nudge that lands you at BC?
The nudge was
because I was there. That's why.
It was a couple different things. So Tom Pody was my same year, who was an exceptional hockey player, and they offered him for scholarship money.
Yeah.
And Mike Greer, who had an unbelievable NHL career and the GM of the San Jose Sharks now, he was going to sign, but yet Coach Parker couldn't legally offer me 4 for 4. He's like 4 3/4. So my dad and I go in to see Coach Parker, and he's like, had to say that 3 3/4, and it would be like $10,000 probably for the 4 years. And I stood up and I shook Coach Parker's hand. I was like, I wasn't going to take any of my trips, but I'm going to take my trips now. Thank you. And I turned and walked out. Wow. And my dad gets in the truck and he's like, I can pay $10,000 if you want to go here. I go, you didn't pay for Rob. You're not paying for me.
Wow. You pretty much told Coach Parker to F off.
Yeah.
Right? F off, sir. Nice to see. I mean, he's a legend. He coached for like 109 years, right? I mean, but at the time, BC was sort of just coming out of, Reasoner was like the start of that, right?
He wasn't there yet.
He wasn't there yet?
Yeah, he was
He's
there.
My year.
He was there my senior year. He was a freshman when I was
Marty Reasoner?
He's a year behind you.
He's a year behind me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was junior year, and then I took a couple trips. Actually, I didn't take any trips until senior year. But I always would go into BC, like our buddy Dave Wainwright, who played at Thayer with us, and David Heimovitz was a year. I missed him by a year at Thayer, but you played with him.
Yeah, I played with him. A couple of D1 guys that I played with. No big deal.
But I would go in with Casey and Kevin Caulfield, and we would go visit them and have a good time at BC.
Yeah, I went on I would get looped into that because remember a kid named Sean Murphy from Hanover? Oh, yeah. Murph from Hanover. So I was from Hanover. Murph was from Hanover. And I would get looped in, with Dave Wainwright and Heimovitz when I was in high school. And we'd go into Boston College and, we'd go to church.
Mm-hmm.
right? Check out the library.
Do some homework.
Yeah, get our homework done all together. We'd go down to the food pantry, right? All those things that you do, right? When you go visit colleges on a Friday night at 18, 17 years old, right? So I was on those trips. So those were always fun. Those guys were good guys. So that was the nudge that sort of made you fall in love with BC?
Yeah. I mean, the guys that I actually didn't play with at BC who treated, Casey and I with a ton of respect and, just welcoming us to their, dorm room and showing us a good time and just being good people, really.
Yeah.
And so I went to Michigan for a visit, and they had just won the national championship, and I didn't like the guys.
You didn't like the guys? Midwesterners.
I just didn't like, the dynamic, they're together as a team, and it was just different, and I was like, I made my decision to go to BC when I was at Michigan.
Really?
I'm holding the flag, the Michigan flag on the big house field. There's like 105,000.
At a football game.
Yeah, it's a great recruiting tool, but I was like, this isn't like BC. I'm like, I guess I want to go to BC.
Yeah.
So, and my parents let me do, make the decision on my own. They didn't really interfere. And
so the nudge to get you to go to BC was really the visit to Michigan.
The visit to Michigan and the quality of people that were at BC.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a wonderful school, and we've talked about it a bunch because my uncle was just on the show and he went to BC, and my cousin was on the show and he went to BC. Now you're here, and he there's a little bit of a theme going on here.
A cult.
A little cult, what's the joke that people always do? You know how you could tell someone's from Boston College? They'll tell you, right?
In the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, it's the first thing out of their mouth. They're just jealous, couldn't get in. And then wherever they went, that guy could be like, yeah, I went to Harvard, like safety school.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, BC runs Boston.
Yeah, that's right. It does. So you go to BC, you have a great career, and now you get out into you start looking at the next stage of your life, which is professional hockey, right?
Yeah, I say this to the kids, and this is the stuff that, very important. It sounds cliche on some level, but I lived it. It was, just staying in the present.
Yeah.
The precious present.
Yeah.
Because
the present is your presence.
Yeah, and if
something like that, right? That's like a play on words. The present is your present. Like it's a present. Yeah. Like if it was your birthday present, whatever. I screwed it up. Move on.
It's a present to stay present.
I don't know. I screwed it up. Just move on. Move on.
Moving on.
Yeah.
So
cut that out.
Yeah. So we weren't very good my freshman year. Actually, we had some good players, but we were under 500. And then went to the national championship the following year. It was in the Garden.
At the Garden.
Yeah.
Jamie O'Leary hit the crossbar.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
Unbelievable.
I
was there for that game. That was my senior year. That was 1998.
Right.
Yeah. At the Garden against Michigan.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we were able to turn a program around. We had a lot of success, as a program moving forward after that year.
Yeah. So you were a big part of that turnaround.
Brian Gianta, Farkas, Clemenson. There's a lot of dudes.
A lot of really good hockey players. So then you go on and you play professional hockey, and what do you play? 10 years?
14.
14 years.
Yeah.
Wow. And I remember two things that you've said to me that have sort of stuck. One was you teach. You've actually coached my son Hank a little bit, and I think I was a little premature putting him with you, and that's not a dig on you. It's just that some of the stuff you talk about is very high level, and the minutia of the game, and it was a lot of stuff that you were teaching me through our conversations, and a lot of stuff that you said, I didn't learn this until I got to my first year at the AHL or my first year in the NHL or listening to this coach, which I thought was amazing, and I talk about it a lot because just because people played at a high level doesn't mean they learned all the stuff, and that makes them immediately a good coach. So just because you played in college doesn't make you a good coach. I just thought it was eye-opening for me to hear someone say, I didn't learn this until, and it was like simple stuff that if you just thought about it a little bit, So I thought that was interesting. The other thing that I thought was very interesting was Mike and I used to work out together, but it was like rudimentary stuff, right? Like we were like doing push-ups in his driveway, or literally doing chin-ups on the swing set in the back. Yeah, doing wall sits against, like, really rudimentary. And then we loved it. We had a football. We used to get our cardio throwing football. But we used to run, what's the monument? Miles Standish.
Right, yep.
We used to run the Miles Standish. And we were there one day, and you were on like your 4th or 5th consecutive 1-year deal. And you turn to me and he goes, do you know how many sets of plates I have? Because you had like a whole attic full of plates, right?
Yeah, I had like 2 or 3 of everything because I moved twice a year for 14 years.
Yeah, which is amazing. But that's it. So there was a bunch of different stages in your career, right? And sort of obviously you became a very established NHL player and played for a bunch of years with the Devils, played a year with the Bruins. But I always thought that the coolest part of your career was sort of towards the end, where, yeah, you spent some time in the NHL, but you also stuck around to sort of give back to the game when you were in San Antonio and be a mentor to some of the younger players.
Yeah, so I mean, looking back, it's kind of cool to, kind of look at your career and see how it went, how it could have been different or whatnot. But I was up and down with the Rangers, and it was just a different time then. They didn't.
That's who you signed with first, right?
Yeah, they drafted me in the 7th round. Just kind of, it was like a favor, I think.
Take the motto, kid.
Oh, actually, that story is kind of funny. Courtney and I drove to Pittsburgh because 2 of my roommates were getting drafted, and I was in there dressed like this. Everyone else has suits on and stuff. We were just going out for like a party,
Right.
And
you didn't think you were going to get drafted?
no,
Really?
Yeah.
This is just coming off your senior year?
no, after my freshman year.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
So I was just like, all right, we'll go out and drive out. And anyway, I'm sitting there talking to a guy, and they're like, I think so. The Rangers just called your name. I'm like, all right. So I went down. They called my brother's name, Rob Mottau. They wouldn't let me down on the floor.
You're kidding me.
They did it all in one day. It was like wicked hot at the Igloo in Pittsburgh. Like they're just like moving people along. Yeah. So I guess Arizona wanted to take me with like the next pick or something like that, or somewhere around there. And they wanted it null and void, but like by that point it was just like, go ahead. But the guy wouldn't let me down. He's like, Rob's got to be up there somewhere. I'm like, he's not draft eligible. He's 5 years older. Like,
it's me.
Yeah,
they're calling my name.
Yeah.
from the stage, and I need to get up there.
Yeah. So
did you make it up?
Yeah, it was just not the stage, just down to the table, shook a few hands. Was
kissed a few babies.
Yeah, call my parents, collect, and
You have a collect call from Rob Mottau.
No, it was like a collect call from Mom, Dad, I got drafted by the Rangers.
Click.
Yeah.
Don't pick up. Yeah. Remember those calls? I need a ride from the mall. Yeah. Click. You have a collect call from. I need a ride from the mall. Because they get mad if you call. Call and collect is expensive.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, very expensive. I don't know where were we? What were we talking about?
Oh, so the Rangers. I went on to play 20-something games over the 2 years. Got traded to Calgary, bounced around minors, mostly in the minors until New Jersey, and
that was kind of your break, right? You signed a multi-year deal with them, right?
It was a 2-year deal. Yeah, two-year deals.
Yeah,
but the cool part about that was I could have reserved myself to being a minor leaguer. You don't have to put in that extra effort in the off season, because you can just play. I could play at that level.
Yeah,
but I wanted to be the best, and I got an opportunity. So when preparation and opportunity came together, I was able to realize that opportunity.
Yeah.
So with the Devils, someone got hurt. I stepped in, and I played in the NHL for 9 years.
So it's like the Wally Pipp and Lou Gehrig.
Right.
That poor guy. Who was it? Scott Stevens.
It was Colin White, my boy.
Oh, yeah. He had a nice career, though.
Yeah. No, he got a puck in the eye, so he was out until like late November. When he came back, we became partners for the next 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, you had an eye injury, right? Was it a stick?
It was a puck. I got lucky. It hit me this way. So you're handsome in this eye.
Not so much in the other eye. That's what he's saying. Though his good eye.
Yeah.
Glass half full.
Right.
Well, yeah, glass eye half full over there. One eye Willie over there. But other than that, you got hips now, right? One hip, two hips.
I got one kind of redone the labrum when I was playing with the Islanders, and then when they took the picture, the doctor was like, "How's your left one feel?" I go, "It's not symptomatic," but he goes, "It's worse than your right. Yeah, it's going to have to be addressed." So I got a hip replacement last year. So for quality of life purposes,
golf mostly. When he says quality of life, he means golf.
Yeah.
Let's be able to play golf.
I need a little bit more turn.
Yeah. But other than that, you didn't have any real serious injuries.
No, I mean those are pretty big. The eye.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Eye injury
Was
other than almost losing your eye and getting a fake hip, you made it out okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to sugarcoat it. Yeah, those hurt pretty bad.
Incredible. I just minimized the loss of an eye. Like it was nothing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. No big deal. I almost lost your eye.
Yeah, you got two of them.
But it was we have since played a million men's league games together, and we were playing at the Bog maybe 2 years ago now, and you lost your tooth, and you're like, I played in the NHL for 14 effing years. I never lost a single tooth.
Oh, I was mad.
I've never seen you that upset in all our years, 30 years of knowing each other. Because it's amazing. Our lives intertwine, right? We went to high school together, then we went to college together, and now we live in the same town together. So it's been sort of just intertwined the whole way. And but talk a little bit about sort of the mindset towards the end of your career, right? You sort of knew. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you sort of knew the last 3 years that what your role was, and was that a tough pill to swallow? A, and B, like what's the good thing that came out of it?
Yeah, it's always tough when your role gets diminished, and it happened through injury. Really, I played top 4 minutes with the Devils, and then with the Islanders, the injuries kind of stacked up, and when it was tough to get back in the lineup, and then. Getting traded to Boston was kind of a shot in the arm, and it was a good hockey team, and it's a dream come true to play for the hometown team.
So tell the story about when you took your first shift.
So I hop on the ice. It was like 2 or 3 minutes into the game, and it was a quick play, good active stick at the blue line, causing offside. And I went down the bench like I scored a goal.
Like he's fist pumping everybody down the bench.
But they're sitting down like taking a sip of water. And Claude Julien.
How old are you at this time?
I was 34 years old.
Okay, all right.
And Claude Julien was the coach, and he's like, "Motts, what the heck are you doing?" I go, "One shift, one game. I get to play in the Bruins alumni golf outing." He goes, "Get on the bench." My first shift lasted like 6 seconds.
I'm in the alumni game.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So good. But that is a dream come true, right? I mean,
it was really cool, and great guys. They had just won the cup, and we talk about accountability in everything we do, but especially in pro sports, accountability came from the GM in Jersey. Lou Lamoriello ran a really tight ship. There wasn't much in Long Island, but then in Boston, it came from the room, which was the healthiest.
Yeah.
But you need that accountability, and it was really cool to be a part of that.
Yeah, that's all. And just to wear a Bruins sweater growing up in Avon playing, that's like every kid's dream. I mean, to play for the Bruins. If you grew up around. I mean, I know it was mine, right? And you knew all the players' names back then, right? It was must see TV at 7:00 on Nesson or TV 38, right?
Yeah, WSBK.
So followed by the movie Loft.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
What was that guy's name? Do you remember?
Dana something.
Dana Hershey?
Dana Hershey.
Yeah.
Good call.
The movie Loft, before your time, root beer. So you stick around for like 3 or 4 years in San Antonio.
So yeah, after the Bruins was a lockout, and then just kind of the writing was on the wall. But I still had some stuff in the tank. I played a bunch, and I had to wait till training camp, for Island to sign. So I'm ready to retire, and I get signed day one of free agency. Right. I'm like, how does this work? So it was a 2-way deal, meaning you could be up or down, 2 different salaries. But the kids were settled in Duxbury. Courtney and I decided that I would just go by myself, and if I got sent down or called up, I could do it with no logistical nightmares with schools and activities and whatnot. But so that was in Florida. So I got sent down out of camp, went to San Antonio and really enjoyed working with the younger guys.
Yeah.
So I was an older guy in the minors, and then I got called up, and I was like a mid-season black ace.
Yeah.
Like for those that don't know, it's a player that doesn't play.
Practice guy.
Practice player.
Yeah.
But I was on the team, and I don't even know how many games, like 7 games, but was able to, get an NHL paycheck and play a little golf down in South Florida. But
pretty good living.
Yeah. So, but then I got sent down towards the tail end of the season, and we went on a little bit of a run. But it was really cool to be a part of that. There's a lot of the players who were down there are NHL All-Stars. There's like 3 NHL All-Stars
now that were on that team.
Yeah, and just to have a little bit of influence on their development early on in their careers was very rewarding. And I think that a lot of organizations look for players like that to be an extension of the coach and be a role model and
teach these kids how to be a pro.
Yeah. I mean, I did it, on the ice, in the locker room, and then off the ice, I was teaching them how to be a pro, but they didn't.
A pro pass, what?
They didn't pass the test, and the coach came down on me pretty hard. But yeah, so
he came down your street.
Yeah, he came down my street.
I'm gonna come down your street. What a line that is! Unbelievable.
But yeah, that was like one of the biggest things, though. Like I really, really enjoyed towards the tail end of my career. It kept me going, and my son Ryan and Courtney came down for my last 2 games, and he skated out with.
Yeah,
me.
It's a great picture of you two on the ice. Just it's a great picture. We should try and get a picture and see if we can put it up here as part of the, to show people. But I think it's on. It might be. Is it like Twitter?
Yeah, Twitter.
Yeah. But so then you sort of get into the professional world, and now you've got rink shrinks going on. But I have a story that I like to tell about you, and and I don't want to. There was a time where you were sort of searching, right? Would you agree? There was like you got out of college, you stopped playing. You did everything right while you were playing. And what I mean by that is you got your Series 6, right? You got your Series 7. You thought you wanted to go into the financial world. You had stuff lined up, and you were like in the off season, especially when you're in New Jersey. And I don't want to tell your story, but you were working in New York, right? Like doing some intern and so you were like you were preparing yourself for life after hockey, which a lot of people don't do, and I know that's something that you're sort of passionate about. And we've had long talks about how sometimes the leagues, all professional leagues, don't support their players once they're done playing, right? And that's probably a conversation for a whole nother podcast. But I know that's near and dear to your heart because we've talked about that. Again, something that you've opened my eyes to, like, oh yeah, you don't even think about that, right? A kid gets out at 35 years old and all he's ever done is hang around a hockey rink. And but I was always sort of pushing you to just, Mike, you have the ability to, people enjoy being around you. You're a good networker. You're a good social guy. And we played I don't know if you remember this, but we played in a golf tournament together. We played in the Claddagh Cup. And we're down playing the Claddagh Cup, and you were sort of bouncing around, and we were talking about what's going on in everybody's lives, and you're like, I don't know, I'm trying to figure out. And I'm like, these 2 kids came over, and I'm sitting with Mike, and to me, Mike's just Mike Mottau, a guy that I've known since I was 16 years old, right? Nothing special. We got jokes. We make fun of each other. But to these 2 young kids, they were probably 8 or 9 years old, and they had a football. Do you remember?
Yeah, I do.
They had a football, and they came over, and they were like, Mr. Mottau, will you play football with us? And I think I was probably having a beer, and you jumped up, and you played football with them for like 15 or 20 minutes. And these kids were like starry-eyed, right? And I'm like, whatever, Mike Mottau. Throw a football both lefty and righty. Yeah. Good for you. Yeah, you're awesome. Right? But it made you came back, and I'm like, Mike, see, that's the gift that you have, like, and I think you've now realized that, and are capitalizing on it, not only with your NHL network career, but also the rink shrinks and some of the other stuff that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of cap off that football throwing, I just want them to not be backyard losers.
Right.
Right. You teach them how to throw a spiral.
Throw a spiral, hit a wiffle ball. There's like a couple things you got to do in the backyard. And Mabel, swim and ride a bike are also on that list.
But yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, it comes natural at times. I enjoy like talking to people. It's not put on, but I did go through the education of working for Morgan Stanley. Jack Corbett, helped me out, got me part of the team, and it just wasn't for me. And our boy Andy Erickson brought me in.
Yep.
I got into the Ironworkers Union, got on the ground, learned it for a couple of years, doing some business development. It's really networking and finding jobs and staying in front of it, getting communication with GCs and developers. And
yeah, so he's working at Sunrise Erectors, which they should sponsor. Sunrise Erectors for all your. No, I'm not even gonna say it. They do sidewall stuff, right?
Yeah, facades.
Yeah, facades. So Andy's a good friend of both of ours. Great guy. And you've been working over there for 3 or 4 years?
5.
Is it that long?
Yeah, it's going on 5 years.
Wow. That's a long time.
Yeah, no, it's been great. Like him and his brother Johnny run a great operation, really family oriented, and guys, and gals that work there love working for the company.
Yeah, it's a good family company.
It really is, and we provide a good service for the GCs and the developers. It's things that you see on the outside, and then plus, from the steel out, we're capable of.
So now you're in business development, but you said something that I thought was really important, and I don't want to skip over it. You started at the bottom. You were in the field for a while, right?
Yeah, no, that's Andy and I talked about it, and my dad had that small residential construction business. A job site is a job site, and I really wanted to learn it from the ground up. So I had some education on what I would be talking about and how a job site works, how the fabric of the company is, and it just really was very beneficial for me.
I just think I think it's so important. You hate to see someone. Because I do think from a company standpoint, now you're part of them as you came up. You get to know all the guys and women that work there. And you're not sort of flying in from the side and landing at the top of the food chain and then sort of telling these people, not that you're telling them how to do their job, but now you're sort of at the right, you're aligning yourself with the ownership team. And maybe people get jealous and they say, well, this guy's just walking in off the street and he's got the president's ear, or he's got the vice president's ear, and I've been here for 20 years and I can't even get a cup of coffee with the president. And so I just think that was just a great way to go about doing things, whether it was your idea or Andy's idea, whoever's idea it was. And there's a bunch of other companies that actually Jeff Wilkinson's company, they sort of do it the same way, which I just think is invaluable. And Rink Shrinks has been going on for how long?
It's almost a year and a half.
All right, so. And the Rink Shrinks is essentially, I'll let you tell you, what is it? What's the Rink Shrinks?
Well, it's an PG educational podcast, to, youth hockey, surrounded around youth hockey to help parents, coaches, and players, navigate their developmental path at different stages, and, there's some crazy hockey parents out there. That's how it started.
Yeah.
Through, Brian Yandel, the other host that I have, that I work with. He was the original Rink Shrink. He had a recurring guest on the Spit and Chicklets podcast.
Okay.
And then he brought me on, he's like, we'll try and do this. And, it's been great. We have some good guests. So every other week we have a guest. And then every other week is a mailbag episode with questions that we answer. And, it kind of runs the gamut. But, basically it's about the developmental path and some questions that, some parents just might not know if they're not from a hockey market.
Yeah. It is very informative. You guys do a whole bunch of other events. You just did a street hockey event, which Hank won. Hank's team won it.
Who was coaching?
I was. Another title. Yep.
You gonna put it right there.
Oh, right there. Yeah. I'll show you Rupert, I'll show you my email. I used to run the Town Cup men's league hockey team, and I used to put all my championships. It was like a joke, right? It was like 2009.
Not really.
It was. There's a little truth in every joke.
Yeah, there is.
But you guys doing a great job, Mike. I really appreciate you coming on. I know it was a long drive down for you, and you sort of last minute. I know I asked you on Friday, so it was awesome having you in. I know you really well and get to know you a little bit more, and I think it's good for everybody to hear stories about the little nudges that guided you through your life, but also to hear that you're giving it back, or gave it. You're still giving back in your coaching, but also gave it back sort of the end of your hockey career. So appreciate it. See, and by the way, do you see how a professional podcaster doesn't interrupt the host when he's doing his exit? Everybody talks when I'm ruining my own exit.
You talked over your own exit.
I just interrupted myself. That's incredible. So good. But as always, if you need anything, give me a call because everybody needs a nudge. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thank you.